The streets of downtown Gulfport will be lined with food trucks this Saturday for Ugly Tie Fest. Finally, a festival for Dad. Ice-cold beer, great live music all day, classic motorcycles, and delicious food truck food. So come hungry and ready to have some fun. Bring your dad and the whole family to Ugly Tie Fest in downtown Gulfport, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Admission is free.
Hey South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices. SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visits.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We are with the fabulous Norbert Putnam as he played on so many hit records, you can't count them, and produced for some of the biggest acts ever. We got to talk Jimmy Buffett.
One day at breakfast, he says, I started a new song. He says, about a night and a day in Key West, I played a bar and I got drunk, and coming home, I stepped out of my flip-flop, and I just kept going. I stepped on a beer can. And the next morning, I'm up, and I'm hungover, and I'm trying to make a margarita. I got some shrimp boiling. I can't find the salt. I said, Jimmy, I kind of like this. And he said, yeah, I think I'll call it Margaritaville.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on your local SuperTalk Mississippi station and now on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
When you listen to SuperTalk Mississippi, you become part of a statewide community, a community of knowledgeable, engaged, enlightened, well-informed, hard-working men and women just like you, all eager to see the Magnolia State grow and prosper. There may be some disagreement on how to get there, but the goal remains the same, for each Mississippian to reach their American dream. Thanks for listening and being a part of the conversation on SuperTalk Mississippi.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Matthews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota, Gulf Coast Business Supply, and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi, and like I always like to add, and Mississippi for that matter, one of the most amazing places on earth, a great place to live, work, and play. Hey, last week I talked a little bit in a conversation with Kyle about Ernest Hemingway. This is somebody I really enjoy reading. It's one of the greatest writers ever. And one of the things I quoted was from a conversation he had with a guy named Robert Manning, who's the executive editor of The Atlantic back in 1954. They were sitting in his house in Cuba overlooking the city of Havana. And during that conversation, Hemingway said this: "It's wonderful to get out on the water. I need it." And then Hemingway gestured toward the ocean and he said this: "It's the last free place there is, the sea." As I pointed out last week, that's as true today as it was back in 1954, but so much insight from Hemingway. Obviously, I'm not surprised by it, just such a thoughtful writer and thinker. But he describes, frankly, that drawl that exists here in coastal Mississippi. It's the last free place there is, the sea. I've always been also an admirer of John Muir. He was the naturalist, a conservationist, a writer. He's an early advocate of conservation and preservation of the wilderness here in the United States. And he said back in the turn of the century, this quote: "And into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul." Into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul. I've been an outdoorsman my entire life since I was just a baby. I was really fortunate because I had a dad and grandfathers who loved to hunt and fish. So they taught me to find myself in the outdoors. And I often said, and I've said it here on the show before, that when I was young, the outdoors literally saved me. I can honestly tell you that it saved me. And frankly, it's a place that I continue to find my soul today. And now that I have kids and grandkids, I've taught my daughter and my sons and my grandkids a love of the outdoors. I went on early in my career, to volunteer extensively in the outdoors. I ultimately became president of the Mississippi Wildlife Federation. That's the state's largest and oldest conservation organization. And it was a pleasure to have the opportunity to understand the role that conservation and outdoors plays in the state of Mississippi. And it's extensive. I mean, it's truly extensive. And recently I had an opportunity to work closely with Will Primos. He's the founder of Primos Hunting Products. And we worked together on a bill that was before the state legislature called the Conservation Trust Fund. The bill actually ultimately died due to lack of support from the lieutenant governor. But I think it will come back, and we'll have another go at it. But frankly, Will and I were super disappointed, as were lots of outdoorsmen across this state. This trust fund actually will create this fund that enables us to go out and get a lot of federal matching money. And so it's really important to the state. So I'm hoping that eventually we'll succeed in putting that together. But if you know hunting, you know the Primos brand, and you know Will Primos and his team basically revolutionized outdoors TV. And they have been incredible ambassadors for the state of Mississippi for many, many years. And more recently, if you study what they've been doing, they're making that transition. I came from a digital media world. I understand the transition they're going through really well. The TV show continues to do well. They're branching out into other multimedia capabilities, doing short videos on YouTube and social media and doing podcasts. You know how this works. What I learned about Will along the way, though, is that he loves coastal Mississippi. He actually spent some time here as a kid fishing in Back Bay and off the coast of Mississippi. And he's going to join me on Coast Vue toward the end of June. But recently, one of the stars of his hunting show, Lake Pickle, and I met just briefly while I was headed up to check on some hunting ground I have in the Delta. I decided to see if I could find Will's place. And I invited Lake to join me here on Coast Vue so that we could talk about their popular TV show, his passion for hunting, our love for the outdoors in Mississippi, and his popular podcast. So without any further ado, let me welcome to Coast Vue my friend Lake Pickle. How you doing, Lake?
And I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. Pleasure. It's
great to have you. So where are you? Where are you sitting right now?
I'm in Flora, Mississippi right now. I'm actually, this is where I live. I was in the office this morning, because we just wrapped up turkey season and everything, but the office is so hustly and bustly and I don't live far from here. I was like, let me just get back to my house where I know I can be in a somewhat controlled environment. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Well, no, listen, we'll have a whole show together. We got a chance to kind of cover the waterfront, but turkey season, I know because I've followed you guys closely, not just because of, if you go back to Will's early life and, the mouth call that he developed and how that sort of revolutionized turkey hunting in America. You guys, it's almost a religious experience, really, when you guys go into the woods. And I saw you when I gave you that John Muir statement, and into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul. When you heard that, you know exactly what that means, don't you?
Yes, sir. I was fortunate enough to, when I attended college, I went to Mississippi State as a wildlife fisheries and aquaculture student. And the professors up there and that whole department, the forest resources, I have nothing but good things to say about them. And so we learned about John Muir. We learned some of my favorite quotes in relation to wildlife and the outdoors and everything, or John Muir or Dane Darling or Aldo Leupold. So yes, I have a soft spot. So when you started quoting John Muir, I definitely appreciated that.
Well, when Will talks about turkey hunting in particular, but you guys love to do all kinds of hunting. You hunt all across the country. You've been actually outside the country hunting, but he refers to turkey hunting especially as a religious experience. Literally, there's something about when you're sitting there and you hear the turkey gobbling. There's this moment where all of your troubles, all your stresses in life are set aside, and all that you're really involved in that moment is what God's great, majesty has to offer. I'm not overstating that, am I?
Not at all. We actually, there was not to run back. If I start talking about turkeys, I can go deep really quick, just because turkeys is what started my whole deep dive into hunting. It kind of is what led to evolving into everything else. And my whole start with turkey hunting started with watching the Truth 12, which was a Primos videos back in those days when they were doing the double stack VHSs. And so, yeah, I can even remember we did a podcast episode. It was last spring, but Troy and I were talking specifically about that just because, bare honesty, back during last year, I was going through a pretty tough time. Everyone was. That was when everyone was mid-pandemic and all that. And we talked about how we found solace and when we were turkey hunting, and in that moment, really everything, just like you said, everything got blocked out. There was no worries of the world. There was no life troubles. There was no bills. There was none of that. It was just you and nature and that turkey. And I think we all sometimes appreciate the privilege to get lost in that. That's one of the beauties of it.
It is so true. And, a lot of us learn, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we learn a love of the outdoors from our parents or grandfathers or grandparents. And I feel for people who didn't have it introduced to them. Now, I have a lot of friends, actually, that along the way, while they didn't learn it generationally, as an adult, they sort of said, I want to learn about that. And the first time they went on a really good duck hunt or went on a deer hunt and saw that if you sit still, wildlife comes alive around you, and you see your first deer in the wild, or if you go on a turkey hunt, there's something magnetic about those moments that draw people in. And I thank God that we still have this opportunity to introduce the outdoors to people who maybe didn't have it, introduced to them because it was part of their culture, their family. But it's so important. It really, we're gonna talk about your story. You got involved in filming. You eventually sort of worked your way into an opportunity to do some filming with the Primos Group. Eventually became a full-time employee. We'll tell a little bit about that. You've actually expanded. If you look at each of the members of the team that are part of the TV show, they've all sort of branched out and done interesting things with their careers. And now you're actually working on Whitetail Properties, which is a real estate company, and you're literally able to combine your passion with your business in a way that's really, really powerful. So we're going to tell that story. So let's take a step back for just a second. You learned to love the outdoors at a very young age from family members. Tell about that.
So I think all of my immediate family would agree that I kind of took hunting a little bit farther than everyone else. But yes, I as I got older, I realized how lucky I was to get the exposure that I did.
Let's do this. When we come back after the break, this is Lake Pickle. He works with Whitetail Properties. He's on the very popular hunting show, the Primos hunting show. If you love the outdoors and you're involved in hunting at all, you probably know about that show. When we come back, we'll talk about his early days, how he fell in love with hunting, and how it emerged into this incredible opportunity to work with Will and team closely over the last several years, and even becoming a star of the show these days. So we'll be back after this break.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here at I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport or on allentoyota.com.
The streets of downtown Gulfport will be lined with food trucks this Saturday for Ugly Tie Fest. Finally, a festival for Dad. Ice-cold beer, great live music all day, classic motorcycles, and delicious food truck food. So come hungry and ready to have some fun. Bring your dad and the whole family to Ugly Tie Fest in downtown Gulfport, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Admission is free.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. And into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul. John Muir. Mississippi is positioned some of the best offshore and backwater fishing in the world, really, and some of the best, outdoors opportunities in the world right here in Mississippi. And I'm having the opportunity this morning to visit with my friend Lake Pickle, who is, he's part of the Will Primos team, the Primos Outdoors, the truth about hunting. And what's the other statement that you guys use?
Speak the language.
Speak the language, which is kind of it was actually, if you think back, for the brand Primos, Speak the Language was absolutely the perfect brand promise. It really was. I thought I read it at one point that in the past it was something like In the Woods, and it evolved into Speak the Language, but it was perfect, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, and it was For the Woods earlier. And then, but even in my younger days when I got attached to Primos, it was already Speak the Language at that point. So it's been Speak the Language ever since I've really.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what he did, he duck calls and turkey calls and all kinds of calls from elk to white-tailed deer and all points in between, and then hunting blinds and all the other stuff that they developed along the way. But anyway, we're talking with Lake Pickle, and when we went to break, he was telling us about the early days and how substantial hunting came to his life. So let's continue that conversation, part of the story, Lake.
Sure. So I was saying that I realized as I got older how lucky I was to get introduced to those things, because it's basic principles that someone like me or someone like you that grew up around this don't really think too much on. But at a very young age, I was taught the principle that you can gain actual sustenance from the land. I can remember killing my first deer with my dad and my brother on our little piece of family ground we have in Webster County. I can remember going with my older brother and my grandpa we called it the catfish pond. I don't know why we called it the catfish pond. We never caught catfish out of there, but we would catch stringerfuls of brim and take them around to Mimi's backyard. We would scale them with spoons, and then she would fry them whole. And it's memories like that just kind of sparked a love for everything outdoors, whether it be hunting or fishing, and that just kind of evolved into everything else. Because as I got older and was able to drive and pick up bow hunting, and then when, like I said, kind of alluded to earlier, when I started turkey hunting, that's when it really started to snowball. But it started early for me.
Well, if you talk to someone who loves the outdoors like we do, if I were to take you now into my garage, I have 4 freezers in my garage, and they're full of fish and deer meat and deer sausage and you name it. And when you say sustenance, that's really important, because it's probably what we're doing is some of the most pure organic eating that you can do, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And it's delicious on top of that.
It's delicious on top of that, for sure. So you had an opportunity, you got into filming with another organization, but eventually that brought you back to do some kind of fill-in work, I think it was, for Primos, and then eventually a full-time opportunity to work for Primos. And you got matched up with a guy who who you sort of stayed matched up with on the show for quite a while before you started actually getting in front of the camera yourself. Tell a little bit about how special that was for you.
Yeah, so, everyone kind of has the way I can describe it the best is a lot of kids, they say so-and-so is your childhood hero. And so quite literally, I grew up watching the Andy Griffith Show and Primos, so Will and Brad and Jimmy and Troy, all those guys were just people that I looked up to. And so I had done this internship with Midwest Whitetail, and I had told them, that I'm so thankful for that internship and the guys there. And they were very well aware that Primos was kind of my end goal, or my, in a perfect world, this is how it would work out. And they ended up putting me in contact with Brad Ferris, who Brad has been tied and affiliated with Primos forever. Long story short, Brad is the one. I ended up running into Brad after I'd been emailing him on and off for a year or so. And the way I can explain it is I can thank my parents for this. For one thing that no one will ever forget about me, they may forget everything else, but they're not going to forget my name, because my name is it's a different name. And so when I ran into Brad and said, "Hey, I'm Lake Pickle," he knew immediately, this is the kid that's been emailing me about video work. And they happened to need somebody coming up that fall. I did not know that at the time. I thank the good Lord just for the timing on that. But yeah, that went from running into Brad to filming an elk hunt in New Mexico at about 2 weeks' time. And then, me and Brad in that first fall, that elk season and deer and duck season, I went with Primos. I probably hunted with Brad more than I did anyone else. And Brad, being as humble of a guy as he is, if he heard me say that he used to be my hero, he would be like, "Man, don't say that," because he's just a humble guy. But it's true. And so that first year, I was just awestruck, trying to be like a sponge, just soaking up every bit of knowledge that I could on the filming side and the outdoorsman side. And thankfully, it did turn into a full-time opportunity. And still to this day, I think I probably hunt with Brad more than I do anyone else on the team. So it's been fun.
It's really interesting to watch. And again, so for someone who doesn't know about the Primos Outdoors, just do a search on YouTube and go take a look at some of the videos that they've done over the many years. I mean, it used to, like he said, it started out as cassette tapes, and then it evolved, became, its own TV show. And, when you're talking to someone, like, about the show, what's your perception, and then what do you know about the popularity of the show nationwide? Because it's got to be, for hunters, it's got to be incredible for you to go to New Mexico or Colorado or wherever you go and have people know who you are.
Yeah, I've never had. Yeah, I don't know. This is a new question. So coming from, I grew up in Rankin County, Mississippi, and for, like you said, to be in that, to the first time we stopped at a gas station and someone, it was during, and someone says, "Hey, man, I love the show." You're like, "Oh, this person knows who I am. This is different." It's just, it's a feeling you don't really know. But the way that I came to accept it is, it's so incredibly encouraging when that happens, because that means that you're doing something right. It means your efforts are bearing some kind of fruit. And so it is very encouraging when that happens. And that's why we do it, right? So when we have someone send in a message about the podcast or an episode, or we run into somebody at a show, or we run into somebody at the airport. That happened when Jordan and I were coming back from Washington. We ran into another guy that had been turkey hunting. And it's just, there's obviously kindred spirits there. There's common ground. That you love turkey hunting? Hey, me too. Let's talk about it, So, and obviously so much of that has to do with the work that Will did early on in growing Primos into the brand that it is. I'm just an ambassador of it,
Well, you actually said what I was about to say, actually, that all of you guys are ambassadors. You're ambassadors of Mississippi. You're ambassadors of hunting. You're ambassadors of ethical hunting. What is so important about your show, and this is the early vision that Will had for the show back when it first started, is that you're not going to, if you look at, the kind of shows that are out there today, a lot of them go to high fenced, or they go to, prepared hunts, and and a lot of editing and, angles and all this stuff. You guys are absolutely opposed to that. You are focused on what you see is what you get. If it's a frustrating hunt, you're going to get the frustration. If it's a successful hunt, you're going to get that. But what you're going to get is, in the moment, whatever happens is what it is, and you edit to that. You really focus on keeping as true to the situation as you possibly can, and that guides you guys, doesn't it, Lake?
100%. And in my opinion, and obviously it probably has a lot to do with that's what I grew up watching, but I think that's the only way to do it, because I think that's the only way that you serve what we're trying to portray, justice. And like you said, it's hunting. I think where we get lost, or where someone can get lost on portraying hunting or video hunts, is you try to make a hunt more than it is. Hunting doesn't need to be more than it is. Fishing doesn't need to be more than it is. Hunting is hunting, and it's beautiful like that. You don't have to add to it. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's perfect the way it is. And so you don't have to add to it. You just show what happens and let it be what it is.
Like, that's so beautifully said, actually. And I tell people all the time that people who are not necessarily opposed to hunting, but don't understand it. And I say, what you need to hear me say before I go any further is that it's not about actually catching the fish or shooting the duck or shooting the deer. If that's what you envision, then you're completely missing this whole experience. It's really about being one with nature. It's about finding peace. And as I had said at the beginning of the show, like Muir said, finding yourself, finding your soul. I can't say that enough. For me, and we'll talk about this when we come back from the break, it's about all the things you do around it, the prep work and the getting ready for the hunting season, and the camaraderie and the meals with, as you say, kindred spirits, people who love the outdoors together, and the influence you have on each other, and the influence you have on each other's peace of mind and quality of life. I could go on and on. When we come back, we'll continue to have our conversation with Lake Pickle.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to SuperTalk.msGulfCoast.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and,
wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visit.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi.
The streets of downtown Gulfport will be lined with food trucks this Saturday for Ugly Thai Fest. Finally, a festival for Dad. Ice cold beer, great live music all day, classic motorcycles, and delicious food truck food. So come hungry and ready to have some fun. Bring your dad and the whole family to Ugly Thai Fest in downtown Gulfport, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Admission is free.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Matthews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota, Gulf Coast Business Supply, and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. We're having a conversation with Lake Pickle. He actually is in the real estate business. He works for Whitetail Properties, but he's also a star of the Will Primo show that has been on the air for many, many years. Started out as a VHS tape. One of the things that we were talking about is this connection to the outdoors. And you mentioned Brad and Troy and Jimmy and Will, and then there are other personalities that have come and gone along the way. That's kind of the core group, and you're sort of becoming part of that core group now. But what's interesting about the show is you get to know the characters. And again, it's really not about the actual hunt. It's about the experience that surrounds the hunt. And y'all have a lot of fun with it, don't you?
Oh yeah, it's impossible not to.
Well, one of the things that's been interesting to watch. Okay, so Will had a place called Rivers Run. Eventually that sort of evolved into I just said it, Cottonmouth. And then that evolved into what you call Kudzu Bluff today. You had the opportunity to spend a lot of time in the Delta, though. That is a special place, isn't it?
Coming from somebody hunting grew up hunting in central Mississippi, and mostly, like pine monoculture, that sort of thing. Never deer hunted in the Delta or along the Mississippi River in my life. And then all of a sudden, here's cottonmouth. And I can remember one of my first days out there, I was riding around with Brad, and Brad could probably see just, the spark in my eye, because I was just so taken back, because river country is just so special and so different than everything else. It's like its own little ecosystem that's separated from the rest of the state. It's so unique. And I remember Brad said, "You better be careful. This river hunting will get in your blood. You won't want to go anywhere else." And he could not have been more accurate with that statement, because the Mississippi Delta, the Mississippi River alluvial valley, whether you're talking about deer, whether you're talking about waterfowl, whether you're talking about squirrel hunting, it's such a special area. It's so great for wildlife.
It is. I get a little taste of that at our place in Shula, which is along the river there. Certainly not like the Mississippi River. And then over in Metro City, some hunting ground there, got a taste of it. And so I know the bluffs sort of like where you hunt now, which in our main camp, we have 500 acres in the bluffs and 500 acres in the Delta. It's just different kind of hunting. And being in the Mississippi River Delta, which I had the opportunity to do last year, it will spoil you. I mean, there's probably nothing like that in the world, Lake. I'm serious. And you've been everywhere.
There's not.
It's so unique. But with the Mississippi River comes floods. And they have been significant. And when you've got a TV show and you've got floods, those two things don't coexist, do they?
We didn't make any secret about it. That's pretty much what forced our hand from the move from Cottonmouth to Kudzu Bluff. I will always have a deep affection for Cottonmouth, for Togo Island, for everywhere along those rivers. It was like earlier you were quoting John Muir, and I said, out of Loophole. One of my favorite Loophole quotes is he says that perhaps no one but a hunter can understand how tense an affection a boy can have for a piece of marsh. So it's like you said, the floods frankly, they were a pain. They got to be a pain, but they still did not outweigh the positives of Cottonmouth or Togo Island and being on that ground and seeing how those deer acted during the rut and seeing the ducks when they came in. That place was just so incredibly special. But to your point, going back to your original point, we had, I think it was 2 really bad flood years in a row. And from a hunting standpoint and from a TV episode making standpoint, it just didn't make sense anymore. We couldn't do it. And so we moved to Kudzu Bluff, and it's fun because it's such a different thing. Like I said, you get in the bluff, we went from the Delta flat, to now the bluffs, there's ridges. There are deep ridges and bottoms. It's a new challenge, and it's been fun so far.
Well, Lake, I'll explain to you, just to the audience, what you mean by that. So you start at our main camp and you start to go up toward Black Hawk, Mississippi. If you go, the drop off from the Delta, from the bluffs to the Delta is very significant. So our land is contiguous during that time. Mm-hmm. As you start to work your way up, we've got 2 or 3 food plots up in that area. Actually, more than that, but 2 or 3 in particular. One is called Grand Canyon, and it's called Grand Canyon for a reason, because if you lose a deer in the wrong direction, we tell people, and another one we call Mount Everest. Hey, that's a good name for a food plot, isn't it? We call it Mount Everest, and we tell people that if you shoot a deer, do not get out of the stand, because you can walk 100 yards in the wrong direction and fall 200 feet.
Yeah.
And I'm not exaggerating, am I?
No, you're not exaggerating at all. That's why I'm laughing, because I'm relating to what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's so difficult, but it's so interesting. It's dynamic. It's different. It's certainly not the Mississippi Delta, but it's beautiful. It has its own personality, and over time, it will be a very, very special place. But you had to go to Kudzu Bluff in the midst of the pandemic and make that change and all that. That was a lot of work, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness. It was so much. It's always, it was so much condensed into a small amount of time. And then on top of that, like right last year when Mississippi bow season actually started, we had Troy caught coronavirus, and so we didn't know who else. We had to separate from all each other because we had just come off elk season. So we were like, we didn't know. We had to wait a few days so everyone could get tested because we didn't know if anyone else had it, and that put us behind on planning. And then it was just last year between pandemic and figuring out coronavirus, and in the midst of that, figuring out this whole new place, going from hunting nothing but flat ground to the bluffs, it was just a lot to take on. But I would be lying if I said it wasn't challenging. I would be lying if I said we figured it out and we're ready to go. No, there's still plenty to be figured out, but it was fun. It was a good time. I call it a successful year. Nothing but excitement going into the next fall. And spring was great out there at the bluffs. So nothing but good things.
So if you look back, and of course you've taped an entire series from TV series from that experience. When people see it, what will they see?
I think there's no way they'll be able to watch that run of shows, and so they'll go, man, they hit some struggles this year. Then go back to what you said. We don't try to placate anything. We struggled with the coronavirus and figuring out this new place. It wasn't like we just went in there and started filling our deer quota. There was a lot to be figured out, but I think they're going to say that, man, they had to work for it, but they still had fun, because we're not going to go out there and not enjoy it.
Hey, what I think they'll learn, and I have no idea, I have no inside information on this, but when we came to the hunting ground that we have today, we added Shula this year, we added Mentor City 3 years ago, and the main camp, I'm trying to think, maybe 5 years ago now. It had a lot of work that needed to be done. So we went in there initially and had to kind of lay it out and try to figure out how we wanted it to be, because it was just a lot of work that needed to be done. And you really need a year to understand deer patterns, because you can be over here 100 yards. And there may be trails over there you don't even know about, and all kinds of amazing things are happening, except you just don't see it. It takes time. And then you have to run through a season, get past a winter, get into like February, so you can go and explore and say, oh my goodness, you'll see a rub there and a scrape there and a big trail over there. And it's like painting a picture. And really, honestly, it takes about 3 years maybe to really begin to understand what the property holds and what the deer patterns are and all that. Actually, I think that's a great lesson, because I think the average guy doesn't fall into this rich hunting club. They have to go into public land and figure it out. It takes them a while to figure it out, or maybe they're able to lease a piece of property and they got to go in there and figure it out. This will be something that most hunters can actually relate with. That occurs to you, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. And that's why we're not, we don't look at that and go, man, we didn't just do eccentric on, killing this number of deer this year. What we did was real. And, and to your point, like one of the things that took us most off guard, just like I said, being fully transparent, one of the things that took us completely off guard is we had been so used to the timing of the rut at Cottonmouth. And we went out there, I think it was early December, and we were going hunting. We were expecting to see some deer. It was Troy and I. And all of a sudden, like, it's before daylight, and I hear a commotion. I can tell what I recognize in my art. That was a deer that ran by. It was still too early. I couldn't really see. It was too dark. I hear the deer run by. A few seconds later, I can hear him coming. I can hear a buck grunting through the woods. And me and Troy were like, this is way different. Just the timing was different.
Right. Right. Very early.
On top.
Very early.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, so when we come back, we'll shift gears in the final segment and talk a little bit about the podcast that Lake is doing today. Talking to a wide range of characters and the multimedia transition that Primus is going through as we speak. We'll be back with Lake Pickle after this.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
The streets of downtown Gulfport will be lined with food trucks this Saturday for Ugly Thai Fest. Finally, a festival for Dad. Ice cold beer, great live music all day, classic motorcycles, and delicious food truck food. So come hungry and ready to have some fun. Bring your dad and the whole family to Ugly Thai Fest in downtown Gulfport, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Admission is free.
Hey South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Del Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera flips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We're having a conversation with Primos's, one of the lead camera guys and one of the in front of camera guys. He works for Whitetail Properties as well, doing real estate, finding hunting ground for people across the state of Mississippi, Lake Pickle. And I love having this conversation. And for people in Coast View, it's maybe a little different kind of a conversation, but you think about the duck hunting that takes place here in coastal Mississippi, some really good deer hunting, like in Wiggins, for example. The deer aren't as big, but the hunting's fantastic. And turkey hunting is some of the best in the state. So, we're just fortunate to live here, and I love sharing our stories with our listeners. They may not understand hunting, they may not even get it, but what they can understand from the conversation that you and I are having is that we both have a passion for the outdoors, and Mississippi sits in a very unique spot as being one of the best places in America. Hey, let's shift gears now. I've been noticing that you guys are kind of making a transition. So you have your TV series, and that's, the commercial sponsors related to that. You're preserving that capability for sure. but I'm noticing more short videos on YouTube and branching out into podcast. And I see people responding to it. So sort of where are you guys in that transition?
Yeah, that's one of those things. Like you said, it's just where the times are going. YouTube has become so incredibly popular. And Primo's being a brand like it is that plans on being around for a while, you have to stick with those things. And so that's kind of how we forged, which they had a YouTube channel for a while, but we've started to add more originality to it, per se, more YouTube exclusive videos, not just stuff that you could see on a DVD or whatever, but stuff that's just specifically meant for YouTube. We started doing more of that. Started doing more just on our social media pages because, now with Facebook and Instagram, everyone knows how popular those things are now. And then that's what eventually, in the middle of all that also led to the podcast that we've been doing it does not seem like it, but in September, we've been doing that podcast for 4 years. So I tell you what it is, it's fun. It's really, honestly, it's fun for me to be a part and, a part of a brand that already was so special to me, to be a part of that, I guess, evolution, so to speak, growing into these new things. It's been very enjoyable. It's challenging sometimes trying to figure out that new stuff, but it's welcomed.
Well, multimedia is where it's at. And I mean, as long as sort of the mothership remains the TV show, which gives you unparalleled national branding in the hunting community, and then you start tacking all these other things, that gives you an opportunity to connect to the younger audience and be able to kind of bring them along. Mm-hmm. And, I think what's interesting about your podcast in particular is that it could be you and Jordan just talking about deer season or turkey season, but you might just have a surprise guest every now and then. That diversity, that fun aspect of it, to bring people that you would never have expected to be a hunter into the conversation and learn they may be successful in whatever endeavor they're involved in, but they also love hunting. That's fun to do that, isn't it?
That's honestly, the podcast has been so much fun because I've gotten to talk to such a diverse group of people. Like you said, people that I found out, I was like, oh, these people hunt, and I was like, man, I need to get them on the show. And so we do try to keep it, like I said, we try not to get stagnant with the podcast. And so that's where all that came from. Summertime particularly, we kind of get to flex whatever creative muscle we have because we're not doing a lot of hunting during the summer. We were in a meeting yesterday where we were doing kind of a group brainstorm on things we could do to kind of keep just new things for the podcast. You don't want to take even a chance at it getting stale. But yeah, I love that. I've been able to talk to everything from an MMA fighter to a country music artist to professional athletes to wild game chefs. The wild game chefs are great for a lot of reasons. They teach me things and I like to eat. So. But yeah, it's been so much fun, that podcast has.
That's awesome. One opportunity for you might be come down and go fishing with us, and we'll catch some big fish, and then we'll go shoot something underneath the water. You would enjoy that.
I'd love that.
But it is incredible. Just as we kind of summarize kind of where we've been in this conversation. It's amazing. You and I really didn't know each other before we had this conversation. I know of you through the show. I've listened to some of your. I listened to the MMA fighter, which was a terrific conversation. And I hope her well as she comes back from her knee injury, et cetera. But as you think about how quickly you and I were able to connect, just because we share a love for land, we share a love for activities that give us a chance to get probably as close to God as you're going to get in a lot of ways, because it's, getting back to nature, as Mura says, it is a great opportunity to find our soul. But it's amazing how you're able to connect well and fast with someone who shares a love with you. And we don't even come from the same area, but once we find that connection, and that's what you find everywhere you go. So, hey, final thought, Lake, before we sign off, buddy.
Final thought is I'm thankful to be here, thankful to get to share my story and for you even the opportunity to do it. Also, final thought is I want to take you up on that fishing invitation.
Well, my sons would very much enjoy that for sure. This has been Lake Pickle from Primos. He also works for Whitetail Properties. You can look him up actually if you're looking for land anywhere in the state of Mississippi. And these guys really know what they're doing when it comes to finding land that could be potentially amazing from a hunting perspective. So anyway, it's been a pleasure, Lake Pickle, and I'll brag on you to Will when I have him on the show in a few weeks, and we'll go from there. So until we see each other again, have a great day, buddy.
Thank y'all.
You bet. We'll see you tomorrow.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.